How's it going, everybody? We are talking about politics today. So if you've got any questions about politics, let me know in the chat. I am here and available to answer all of your good faith questions about politics. There's no such thing as a dumb question, so you don't got to worry about getting judged or getting roasted or getting teased. I am just here to answer all of your good faith questions. I know that politics can be really intimidating if you don't know too much about it, and so I like to make myself available to all of you all, and you can answer me questions without fear of getting judged, without fear that you're going to be made fun of for not knowing things. That is not what we do here on my live stream. So you can ask me anything that you like, and I promise I will just answer in as good faith of a method as I can. I know the politics can be really intimidating when you don't know too much about it. There was definitely a time when I didn't know anything about politics, and so I was always really worried about asking people questions about it. So this is what I'm here for, guys. You can ask me anything that you like. It can be as simple or as complicated as you like. There's no judgments, there's no roasting, there's no debating. You don't got to worry about, oh, if I ask this, he's going to think I'm some sort of MAGA lunatic, or if I ask this, he's going to think I'm some sort of cuck libtard. There's no judgments whatsoever. I'm just here to answer all of your good faith questions about politics. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I can remember asking some friends of mine a question about politics once, and they roasted me to death for that question. And so you don't have to worry about that happening here on this live stream. I'm just here to answer all of your good faith questions about politics. It can be simple, it can be huge, it can be whatever you like. Voodoo Witch says, why can't we target Musk's income? Like stop buying anything. I mean, people are doing that right now. You know, like people are protesting Teslas, and Tesla sales are like going are fucking cratering like crazy. The problem is that he gets a lot of money through government contracts, and now he is in control of the federal government. So there's just a news story today that the FAA is going to cancel a contract that they have with Verizon and give it to Starlink instead. That is just like from fucking straight up corruption for you right there. Kako says, when we pay federal taxes, can we? And then that was the end of that comment. So, Mikey says, can I join? I have a political question. You can just put the question in the chat. I don't have people come on my lives. Let's see here. Thank you, everybody, for joining. If you have a question about politics, let me know in the chat. I am here for your questions. I will answer whatever question you have. Mikey said, it's a long expression. I'll do it quick. I mean, I guarantee you can put it in the chat. And if it's too long for TikTok, I'm also streaming on Twitch and YouTube. Let's see here. Happy Thursday from Elvis. Thank you, Elvis. Thank you for being here. King Tarzan of SA says, is taxation without representation tyranny? I mean, I think so. That sounds about right. Seth Ferdinando says, how do you feel about animals being allowed to conceal carry firearms? I don't think that they are allowed to. Ugly and the Pug says, my question, what are your qualifications? I know a lot about politics. So yeah, you don't got to worry about me judging your question whatsoever. You don't got to worry about, oh, if I ask this, he's going to think I'm some sort of cucktard lib, or if I ask this, he's going to think I'm some sort of MAGA lunatic. There's no judgments here on this live stream, just answers to all of your good faith questions. Christopher says, you think the midterm elections can help get Trump out of office? Absolutely. If people turn out to vote for Democratic candidates, or they can primary Republicans that they are not happy with and replace them with Republicans that will actually stand up to Trump and stand up for the constituents in their districts instead of cutting all of their benefits, then yeah, I think we 100% can stop Trump if we do good in the midterms. Matthew Mathis says, when will we stop talking about politics? I guess when the government starts acting normal again. The Republican Party has fully weaponized every branch of the government in order to accomplish their aims of accumulating as much money and power for themselves and their friends as possible. And so we constantly have to be activated to make sure that they don't do that. And even when we have more responsible governance, like during the Biden administration, people with a lot of money and power have a lot of influence over what they do. And so sometimes even good politicians will water down the things that they want to do because people with a lot of money and power put pressure on them. And so until we can fix both who's currently in charge and get the money out of politics, which again is only going to happen if we vote for Democrats, then yeah, we're going to constantly have to be calling our representatives and organizing and voting voting and talking to people and knocking on doors and shit like that. Ray Riker says the Democrats didn't try to imprison Trump. No, the Democrats did not try to imprison Trump. The Department of Justice discovered that Trump did a lot of crimes, and so they indicted Trump. But the Democratic Party had absolutely nothing to do with that, and there's zero evidence that they had any involvement in that whatsoever. Lena says, do you think Obergefell will actually be overturned the way that Roe was? I do, but I don't know what level it will be taken down in. There are currently 9 Republican-led states that are trying to pass legislation to end same-sex marriage. So that will 100% go to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court will, they'll do a states' rights thing, or they will say that, gay marriages can no longer be federally acknowledged or whatever. But yeah, it's in their targets. It's been in their targets for a long time, and they absolutely have the power to do it. So, Ray Riker says DNC was caught talking to Fannie Willis. Ray Riker, I'm so sorry, but that didn't happen. There's zero evidence. Ray Riker, let me ask you this. If Trump did all these crimes, what would it look like different than what happened? You can sit here and say that it was weaponized against Trump and the Democrats are responsible for it, but it would look exactly the same as what happened if he actually did the crimes. So until you show me the kind of intervention that Trump is constantly doing with the Department of Justice, then this argument is non-existent, Jack Ayer says, will the penny be legal to melt? If it's no longer a legal tender, it's literally just, I think like copper and nickel alloy or something like that. So yeah, if it's not legal tender, you can do whatever you want with it. User a whole bunch of numbers says, I only voted for Trump 3 times. That's all. Well, those are the only times you could have voted for Trump. These are a whole bunch of numbers. Do you feel bad about it now that all the things are happening? Thelma P. Peckerwood says, white Christian men wrote the Declaration of Independence. That gives you freedom today. Okay, I don't know what your point is. Let's see here. Ray Riker says, Fannie spoke with the DNC. Again, you keep on saying that like that's an indictment or something like that. I don't know what you're talking about. When people get their news off of right-wing channels, you kind of speak in the shorthand that only you guys understand, But I can show you 1,000 examples of Trump directly involving himself in the Department of Justice that you cannot show me that Biden or any notable Democrat did. Mark McKinday says, I still got my pennies in change jars. Well, I would I would cash those out immediately if I were you. Big Dog Gunna says, are all Republicans bad and all Democrats good? No, but I would say that most Republican politicians are bad and most Democratic politicians are good. And more importantly, the platform of the Democratic Party, what they say they're going to try to accomplish when they get in office, is a lot better than the platform of the Republican Party, which is way, way worse. Let's see here. Alrighty. Turtley Turtle says, MAGA, I hope he jails politicians for these crimes. Wait, so you're saying you're MAGA and you hope that Trump jails politicians for their crimes? Turtley Turtle, I don't think that the things you're saying are accurate. The Trump Justice Department is going to have a bunch of sham investigations into Trump's political rivals. That's a bad thing. It's a bad thing when the FBI is going after people just because they don't like them and not because they did crimes, So I would hope that you would get your news from somewhere else. Ray Riker says the fake photos from his house raid. Those weren't fake, Ray Riker, and please just get your news from somewhere else, man, because everything that you're saying is right-wing propaganda, dude. I would love to engage with you. You're actually asking questions the way I'm asking people to, but, we're living in 2 different universes, and I have a lot of data to suggest that the universe that I'm in is the actual one. Let's see here. Omni Cow says, you must feel sick knowing Trump might be able to replace 3 justices. I don't like the fact that he's going to replace any justices and that he's going to continue. I think he's already sat something like 200. No, that can't be right. I saw some stat that said today that he had already sat 200 judges, but that can't possibly be true. So I need to look into that. But yeah, he's going to be nominating judges for every level of the judiciary, and those people have exactly zero credibility. They have exactly zero desire to follow the law. All they want to do is fucking carry water for the Republican Party. And whether you're a Republican or not, that's just not how the justice system is supposed to work. You want them to be impartial and unbiased because maybe they'd set their sights on you one day. You want the law to be as impartial as possible to protect you from that kind of, illegitimate legislation and illegitimate investigations. Let's see here. Okay, 555-95472 says MAGAs need to get their filters in their brains cleaned out. Listen, I've definitely been guilty of throwing shade at MAGA and Trump supporters, but I think that we need to focus on the billionaires and the Republican politicians because those are the ones that are the actual enemies. When you just, call MAGA voters stupid, then they call you a condescending cuck, and then we just end up fighting amongst each other instead of, having our sights directed at the politicians themselves, the right-wing Republican politicians who are doing all this shit, and the billionaire class that is working with them to do all this shit. Let's see here. Big Dog Gunna says thoughts on looking into government spending and cutting wasteful spending. I'm for that, but that's literally not what Doge is doing. Doge is not finding any waste, fraud, and abuse. They are just shutting down programs that help the 99%. By cutting these programs, they are helping the most powerful people that exist, billionaires and giant corporations. He's also shutting down organizations that are currently investigating Elon Musk. So he's just like protecting his own, financial interests by shutting down all these programs. It's also making it, it's making terrorist organizations more powerful. It's making it easier for diseases to come into America. There's literally nothing good that they're doing. Alrighty, let's see here. Great lighting. Thank you, Savannah. I appreciate that. And you timed your comment really well, so now I actually got to see it this time. Rogue Mayhem says, who would win in a fistfight, Trump or Kamala? Checkmate, atheist. I think Kamala. Trump seems kind of pudgy and not very physically capable. Mark McKinday says, when will police cars become Cybertrucks? They've already identified that line item in the budget to award like $400 million to have like Cybertrucks in some sort of, federal fleet capacity. I'm not really sure what, but yeah, this administration is solid fucking grift, and everybody should be pissed off about this. Let's see here. A8L says, how are terrorists getting more powerful? Excellent question. So USAID is an organization that helps emerging civilizations, like third world countries. And so we build schools and we build hospitals and we make sure that people have access to clean water and food and stuff like that. If USAID isn't doing that, then terrorist organizations pick up the slack. And so they take over those areas, they indoctrinate all the people, they teach them, to hate America, and they incorporate them into their fighting force. And, then they just have more numbers, they have more resources available to them, they have more land and stuff like that. So yeah, despots, authoritarians, terrorist organizations, the cartel, all of those become more powerful when you end USAID. Irish Connie 49 says, do you think civil wars in the future? I do not. I think it is much more likely that, late 1930s Germany is in our future. Let's see here. Trump is your faja said, Trump is saving America one treasonist at a time. That is inaccurate, Trump. In fact, he has pardoned a bunch of treasonists that were in jail. And now they're out on the street. Although some of them are back in jail for, child pornography and murder and domestic abuse and, shit like that. Let's see here. Love says, do you think he will push for a third term? Absolutely, no question, 100%. He wants to die in office. Like, that is what he wants. And so the mechanism that he does that by, if he declares martial law, if he works with the Supreme Court or Congress to try to get something passed to make it quote-unquote legal for him to do that, I don't know how he's going to do it, but he 100% is gunning towards that. You know that is something that he wants because he's constantly joking about it. He was joking about that during his first term as well. Let's see here. What do you think the reaction of the people will be? I mean, I'm hoping that it will be, fucking massive uprisings because it is blatantly unconstitutional and he's already doing enough damage in his first couple of months. We don't need more time, I think the best case scenario is that we sweep the midterms and can impeach him because, again, he deserves it more than I think any human that's ever existed. Let's see here. Sam says, what is no tax on Social Security? I believe that is a proposal that Republicans have talked about, but that is not actually present in any legislation. Anthony Jenkins says, you're probably being paid by the DNC. I'm not. Let's see here. T-Bird62 says, I voted for Kamala. I wanted that $25,000 check. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see here. Schmeb says, nothing brought me greater joy than hearing a former January 6er got shot to death by the police. That's pretty dark, Schmebs, and I do not condone any kind of violence. Oh boy. Let's see here. Digital Marine Team says, Trump is the best president we've had. You are so biased. That is not accurate at all. Anthony Jenkins, Maps is the kind of person that you are feeding nonsense to. All right, so we're just going to get rid of you because you're not asking a question. I don't care if you have different opinions than me, but actually ask a question. Chakon, that is not a question about politics. Let's see here. Digital Marine, again, that is not a question, so you are out of here. I do not care if you have different opinions than me. Just ask a question. Schmeb says, genuinely curious, do Trumpers come up with anything so that you don't end up being wrong? Genuinely, do Trumpers ever come up with anything so that you don't end up being wrong? I think you got to clean up that question, Schmebs, because I'm not really sure what you're asking me about. Has a Trump person ever called me out on something that I was not 100% correct on? Yeah, probably, you know. The world of politics is extremely complicated, and I'm learning things constantly. So, yeah, you know, there are little details here and there, but the general thesis of Republicans being a lot worse than Democrats, things getting worse under Republican governance than under Democratic governance, Democratic politicians being better than Republican politicians, like that stuff has never been proven wrong. Dana Point Realtor says, do you think Congress will try to pass another border bill? I'm skeptical of that. They would need the Senate for that. The filibuster still exists. And, you know, the Democrats are not going to get on board with that kind of a thing, especially not with, you know, public opinion turning so harshly against Republican governance as it stands right now. I am of the opinion that the reason why they were a little skittish at first was because they weren't sure which way the political tides were turning and how much of a opposition party they were allowed to be. But it seems like now that they have got the memo that, you know, this is what we want them to do. We want them to try to stop the worst excesses of the Trump administration. So yeah, I am skeptical. Now they could always get rid of the filibuster, which, you know, this is a lawless administration, so that's always a possibility. But you know, I guess we'll have to just, you know, cross that bridge when we come to it. Cynthia Massey says, do you believe Trump will be impeached again? If Democrats do well enough in the midterms, he will 100% be impeached again. Because again, he has already done a lot of things to deserve it. Italiana74 says, what does he gain by getting rid of USPS, and what avenue would he use, do you think? So there's a bunch of advantages to getting rid of the Postal Service. First and foremost, it is the Republican ethos to get rid of all government services and make sure that everything is privatized. The reason why they like things that are privatized as opposed to being government run is not because they're more efficient or better. It is because it creates a profit for a small group of people. So we create more millionaires and billionaires who get to rule over us and create and make us all into wage slaves. That's number one. Number two is that it would make, he would be able to stop voting by mail, or at least make it harder for people to do in Democratic districts. And number three, somebody pointed out recently that the post office is how we all apply for our passports. And so if we're not doing that through the USPS anymore, it gives the Trump administration more power over who can and cannot leave the country. Let's see here. Madcap Monkey says, why was neither of those things enough to bar him from re-election? It makes no sense to me. Because the Republicans in the Senate did not vote to remove him from office. The Senate needs to confirm an impeachment vote after it's happened. So he was technically impeached twice by the House. And both times, Senate Republicans did not have the balls or the moral fortitude to do the right thing and make sure to, you know, confirm that impeachment vote. But yeah, you know, if the Supreme Court hadn't been, you know, making sure to stall all of his, you know, indictments, he might have been in jail by the time the election had come around. But, you know, he installed enough justices who were sympathetic to him that they were willing to change the law or fuck with the gears of justice in a way to give him exactly enough time to run and win the presidency again. Let's see here. Schmebs, Democratic presidential candidates for 2028 that actually have a chance of winning. I'm not focused on 2028, my man. I appreciate the question, but I'm talking about the midterms and I'm talking about the special elections that are coming up. PMCG, actually that's not a question, let's see here. A8L says, why is it a problem if federal Department of Education is dismantled when the states have their own departments of education? Because they need funding. The Department of Education funds state education departments, and those are particularly important for schools that deal with kids with disabilities, kids who English is not their first language, kids who live in poor areas. When you cut off that funding, you are cutting off the lifeblood for a lot of public schools that are already operating on life support. And so you're going to make public education so much worse that even fewer people will be using it and more people are going to be going to private education. Private education is going to become even more expensive. And so there's just going to be two separate classes of people going forward: people that can afford to get an education and people that can't afford to get an education. And so poor people will be stuck being poor because they won't be able to better their lives, and rich people will be able to hand down the keys to getting an education and then getting a job going forward. It's all help the rich and fuck the poor, like fucking reverse Robin Hoods. The Ill Moth says, do you think the government should legalize all drugs? I mean, that's a little bit more of it's an extreme, either libertarian or far left position. And I'm personally not opposed to it. I read a really interesting book called Drug Use for Adults by this professor whose name I believe was Hart, H-A-R-T. I can't remember. And he was basically arguing that the science of drug addiction is misunderstood, and that every drug is exactly as dangerous as every other drug, that alcohol is exactly as dangerous as heroin. And while I want to see more research on that before I put my money behind it, I do think that there are a lot of benefits to legalization. You take money and power away from organized crime. Instead of having an unregulated product that can be, that can have trace amounts of fentanyl that kills somebody in it, then suddenly it is government regulated. But it is a fringe position that I think needs a lot more study and a lot more means testing before we advocate for it. Madcap Monkey says, at this point, can anything legal or constitutional be used to remove him from office before he hits 100% dictator status? Yes, with an asterisk. Yes, with a but, because we're in dangerous times where they're firing a lot of very important people in military positions. The heads of all the various military departments, the Coast Guard, the military, the Marines, fucking the Navy, the Air Force, all that shit. They're getting rid of those people and replacing them with Trump loyalists who will do whatever they say. So we are potentially looking at a future, and also, like the FBI is now under the thumb of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who are both a couple of fucking hardcore Trump sycophantic psychopaths who do not give a shit about the rule of law, do not have the necessary experience or credibility whatsoever. So we're potentially looking down the barrel of, the Democrats taking back the House and the Senate, impeaching Donald Trump, and then him ordering the military and the FBI to keep him in office. And that's a very scary situation that, goes back to my original thesis of the only people that can really, truly save us. Yeah, that's what I thought. The only people that can really, truly save us are us. So my live just got restricted because I was talking about legalizing all drugs. The Ill Moth, I appreciate you, I love you to death, but every time I talk about stuff like that, my lives get flagged for inappropriate material. So I might have to end this live a little bit early because my numbers are going to keep on going down and down and down and down as my live has been restricted. But we'll see how long we can go. Madcap Monkey, has he removed every check and balance that could have already stopped him? Not yet. But we're moving in that direction, and it's very, very scary. So yeah, as I was saying, we're the only people that can save us. We have to exert our power. We have to do our protesting and our boycotting and our striking. And if we know people who work for the military or know people who work in the FBI, we need to make sure that we're getting in contact with them and know that we want them to do the right thing. And we want them to stand up to Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pete Hegseth and whatever fucking psychopath right-wing flunky who doesn't give a shit about protecting the Constitution or this country and only cares about what dear leader and fucking Elon Musk and Donald Trump are fucking gonna tell them to do, It is terrifying. It is the reason why I was telling everybody not to fucking let this shit happen in the 2024 election, but nobody fucking listened to me, so what the fuck are we gonna do now? We just gotta do the work, We just gotta do the work. Sitting around and worrying about it will not help. Throwing up our hands in the air and saying it's game over is not going to help. That is what they want us to do. They want us to give up. They want us to think that it's game over. And so don't let them. Do not let them make it game over. All right, let's see here. David Odd says, how do people listen to Charlie Kirk, Shapiro, Peterson claim that you are a paid shill? I mean, every accusation that comes from the right is actually an admission. We've known this for a really long time. T-Bird62 says, well, you could always go to Mexico for 4 years, smart Alec. I mean, you know, if they let me leave the country, and depending on how bad it gets, that is definitely an option that I am considering. And, you know, from your lips to God's ears, that it only lasts for 4 years. Because, again, Trump is talking about staying in office afterwards, you know? So it's like, you know, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about an actual coup dictatorship? Like, are we not living in the same world where you don't think that's even fucking possible, you know? Let's see here. Heather Aguayo says, every single day it's something new, bad that happens. I'm terrified. I'm terrified too, Heather. And you are 100% right to be terrified. But here's how we get through this. We take care of each other. You know, make sure that you know your friends, your neighbors, the people that are close to you, that live close to you in proximity, and make sure that you guys are all going to be there for each other. You know, do the work with great organizations that are already working to try to stop this. Indivisible, Run for Something, Vote Save America. I've been seeing a lot of cool protesting happening through 5051. That seems to be a dope organization. AOC and Bernie Sanders and Jasmine Crockett seems like they got their finger on the pulse of Resistance 2.0. But yeah, we got to do the work. We are the only people that are going to save us. You know, we cannot expect private industry to be able to save us. They clearly don't want to. They're just giving Trump money so that they can do their fucking giant mergers and fuck us all over. You know, look at what's going on over at the fucking Washington Post right now. You know what I mean? And the Democratic Party doesn't have the power or resources to save us. Even if we gave them all of our money, then they still would not have as much money to fight this as Vladimir Putin, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, you know, fucking Peter Thiel, all these fucking fascist tech billionaires that are supporting the right-wing government right now, you know. The Ilmos's thoughts on Trump calling Zelensky a dictator, it's more of the same, repeating a lie so much that it becomes the truth, accusing others of the thing of which you are guilty, you know, shit like that. Alrighty, let's see here. 555-94472 says, start with establishing mutual aid. Yeah, there's a lot of great mutual aid organizations that already exist. My Skin 58 says, is forcible removal of Palestinians ethnic cleansing? Yes, it is. 100% it is. The only living boy in Kentucky, good to see you again. Do you think the Senate is more likely to push back on this budget? They are. They seem a little less cuckoo bananas than the Republicans in the House, but you will never lose money by betting against Republicans doing the right thing. So I am skeptical that they will pull this through, but, you know, as it stands, we cannot count on the government to do the right thing going forward because the government is in the hands of the Republican Party. And they don't do the right thing, you know? Let's see here. Mr. Louis Casino said FDR did 4 terms. I think FDR did 3 terms. And also, that is the reason why they put it into the Constitution after that, because they did not want a president to be able to do that again. T-Bird62 says if he gives you the $5,000, you can have a head start. You're not asking any questions, T-Bird, and so you are out of here. Okay, scrolling down to the bottom. I am muted. Oh no, I wonder if it's my fucking thing ran out of batteries or something. Oh, wait. All right, let's see here. All right, you guys should be able to hear me now. Let's see here. Yeah, my Bluetooth microphone ran out of batteries. I have finally figured out how long the batteries on this thing last, and it's exactly 2 lives. Alrighty, let's see here. Okay. All right, let's get back into these comments. All right. So yeah, everybody, just a heads up. Nobody ever asked me about legal drug use again, because that is going to get me. That is going to, what do you call it? It's going to severely limit the number of people who will see my live. Yeah, I love this T-Bird throwing shade at me for getting muted. That's good. He's got an annoying voice, doesn't he? Heaps, you don't shut up. He's just a Trump hater. First of all, you're not even here anymore, which I fucking love. And second of all, if you hate my voice so much, then why were you fucking here in the first place, you ding dong? Yeah, let's see here. Nobody ever asked questions about legalizing drugs again. Well, yes, Italiana. But that question came from the Ilmoth over on YouTube, who is a regular, and I do not believe had ill intentions when they asked that question. Grandma says you have to say T-rugs. Okay. All right. Let's see here. I already answered that question. Patrick Schulz, what was your favorite moment from Lenore last night? I absolutely enjoyed your set. I hope you enjoyed the stickers. Oh, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here. I think probably that dude asking about pandas farting and then, us Googling it. But that is not a question about politics. That is not what we were doing here today. All right. Anybody else have a question about politics? We are all caught up. And, my live stream is not going to get any bigger because, again, I got flagged for talking about legalization. Alice says, who can I write to or call to put some light onto the subject of the chaos? So, Alice, there are two things that I think you can do that will have the most positive effect on what is going on politically right now. Number one is if you are currently being represented by a Republican in Congress, either a House member or a senator. If you call them, if you bug them, if you go to their town halls, if you go to their offices, and you get a bunch of friends to do the same thing, they're already talking about, canceling town halls because they're getting yelled at so much. They're a bunch of fucking cowards. And but they work for us. We are their boss, and so they are legally obligated to listen to us. And the more that they push back, the more they kick us out of the town halls, the more people get activated by, by the fucking, Gestapo tactics of what these people are doing. So do not let them ignore you, is what I would say. That's number one. Number two is you got to talk to everybody that you know. You got to talk to your friends, your family, your coworkers, your neighbors. The people that already know and care about you are the ones who are going to be the most easy to convince to do something. And what are some things that we need them to do? We need them to vote if they're not voting already. We need them to vote Democrat if they're not voting Democrat already. If they're already voting for Democrats, we got to make sure that they vote in special elections and midterms and primaries. Make sure that they have 100% voter participation. If they're already doing that, get them to do the work as well. Make sure that they are talking to the people that they know and love and convincing those people as well. Because we need to get more voters. That is what happened in the last election. 8 million people were convinced to not vote in 2024 who voted in 2020. And they were tricked. They were conned. They saw some shit on the internet that convinced them that not voting was better than voting. And how do we know that? Well, if somebody follows the news, then they have a history of voting for Democrats by a factor of something like 80 to 20. So the voters that we needed all got their news off of social media or just from their communities. And so we need to make sure that we're reaching those people. Retweeting videos, even like making videos and your video can go like crazy viral and get like millions and millions of views. It will be drowned out by everything else that is happening on social media. Social media is too easy to manipulate. It is the fucking Wild West. If you have a lot of money, influence, and power, you can flood the zone with whatever bullshit propaganda, misinformation narratives will help you to either boost the candidates that you want or just keep people from voting for the person that you don't want. And that is what we need, the fight that we need to be, that is the fight that we're having right now. So yeah, we just got to do that work, and we all have to do it. But the good news is that if we all do it, then nobody has to do a lot of work, because if we all do a little bit of work, then all the work gets done. Heather Aguayo says, how soon will the cuts to Medicaid take effect? That I do not know, unfortunately. Robabo925 says, restart the live, we'll come back. I'm actually feeling kind of good right now, so maybe I will do that because, I usually only do about this long when I'm on the road, but I took a nap today and I'm feeling pretty good, so maybe I will start and stop. And I think I'm going to try to do that, and we'll see what happens. All right, so everybody, make sure that you come back and check out the live Twitch and YouTube. Y'all are going to not be interrupted, but TikTok, you're going to have to come back. All right, come back, guys. Let's see here. Okay, let's go back live again. Back to the live button. All right. The Ilmoff, my bad for the drugs mention. I didn't know that streams get censored for talking about drugs. You know, you had no way of knowing, and it's totally fine. It happens to the best of us. All right. There we go. All right, going back up on TikTok here. Let's see here. Patrick Schulz, do you think we can turn this current political atmosphere around and enact some change while doing so? Absolutely. 100% we can. We just have to do the work, you know? And it sucks that we have to do the work. I don't want to do the work. I'd much rather just do stand-up and go see movies with my wife. Yeah, that is literally that is the whole fucking ball game right there. It is up to us. We are the only people who are going to be able to solve this problem. The Democratic Party doesn't have enough power and money and influence to solve this. It is literally just us. Madcap Monkey over on YouTube. I hope your tour is going really well. I was sad to see you wouldn't be at the show near me in May, but I hope you have a great time and get lots of new fans. I appreciate that, Madcap Monkey. Welcome back, everybody, on TikTok. Ask me anything that you like about politics. I am here to answer all of your good faith questions about politics. You don't got to worry about judgments or roasting or debating. I am not here to tell you that you are dumb for your question or that you are wrong or bad for your question. If you tell me, hey, I'm a Trump voter, why should I vote for Democrats? I will answer that in good faith, and I will not wag my finger at you or scold you or tell you that your vote ruined everybody's lives. And if you are, you know, a far left tanky extremist who thinks that accelerationism is better, and you say, why is it not? Then I will answer that question in good faith, and I will not tell you that this is currently your fault at all or anything like that. So yeah, ask away, everybody. I'm here to answer all of your good faith questions about politics. There is no such thing as a dumb question. There's no roasting. There's no debating. There's no ridicule for not knowing things. Whole bunch of 0804 says, who is the bigger threat, Trump or Musk? They're one and the same right now. Trump has completely given up the federal government to Elon Musk. So, you know, it's basically President Musk and Vice President Trump and double Vice President J.D. Vance right now. Confra62 says, who'd you vote for? Democrats up and down the ballot. Does that make you feel like I am more or less credible, Confra? Let's see here. Period says, what happens when the government shuts down? So, depending on, you know, which agencies are essential agencies or deemed essential agencies, there will be certain things that won't stop. Like the FAA will still be having air traffic controllers, although significantly fewer because Trump and Musk keep on firing them for no fucking reason. But, you know, our national parks will close down. A lot of federal employees will be furloughed with no pay. So we will essentially be, you know, skyrocketing unemployment, and particularly unemployment among veterans, because the government hires, they prioritize hiring veterans when they're hiring for positions. So right now, Doge and Trump and Musk are mass firing veterans, and if they shut down the government, then that will be, you know, it will just accelerate all of that. Let's see here. Nicey says, Musk never won a primary or got a single vote on American. Yeah, you know, not only is what he's doing wrong and bad and hurting people, it is also blatantly illegal and unconstitutional. Let's see here. Hey, my team has completed the first stage of Team Quest. Team Cheers has been unlocked for all team members to send and celebrate. Oh, that's pretty cool. There are all these different like mechanisms on the various social channels where people can like do cool things and stuff that I have absolutely no fucking idea about, you know? So if you guys are part of the team, you guys have a new privilege now, which is really cool, I guess. For the Lulz says, are Republicans really that gullible, or do they know how bad they are? So I do think that we're dealing with two different groups of people. There are people who know exactly what's going on and they don't give a shit. Like, people that are racists are like, yes, everybody who's brown, everybody who's black, fuck them, I don't give a shit. LGBTQ people, I don't give a shit if they all fucking, you know, drive off a cliff together. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I just want other people to get hurt because that might help me. Or I hate them, so I want them to get hurt. Then you got your rich assholes who are like, I don't give a shit who gets hurt. I just want my tax cuts. I want to have more money than everybody else. I want to be able to do whatever the fuck I want. They want to go back to that golden age of like when rich people who owned factories were so powerful they could like sexually harass all their workers and nobody could say boo about that because they were the only game in town, you know? Yeah, that's the world that those people want. But there's another group of people who are just misinformed. And, you know, I am... One of my big crusades right now is in making sure that people don't direct their anger at the voters, but do direct their anger at the Republican politicians and the billionaires who are in league with them. because there but for the grace of God go I. If you grew up in an extremely conservative area where everybody that you knew was conservative and your priest was telling you that only conservatives can be good Christians and the only thing that you watched was Fox News and all of your friends on social media were posting the exact same bullshit right-wing propaganda articles, then you might get tricked the exact same way. And so I believe in having that kind of radical empathy for the voters themselves, so that, we don't just keep on butting heads and, making videos where we take pot shots at Republican voters, when instead we should be talking about the things that Republican politicians are doing, the things that billionaires are doing that are fucking over all of us, whether we vote Democrat or vote Republican. Tommy, Colorado Springs says, do you think RFK is a good pick for Health and Human Services? I don't agree with everything, but he does have some good takes. So Tommy, Colorado Springs, it's really interesting that you should say that, because I have for a long time known that RFK Jr. is completely full of shit, but a lot of people don't, And so when he says things like we need to get chemical additives out of food and we need to return people to nature so that people can have better, health and stuff like that, all of that resonates with people, who want to eat organic and, and really believe in things like microplastics being an issue. But the problem is that he's completely full of shit, and where he will ignore the science on things like vaccines, where he will ignore the damage that he did to Samoa by encouraging them not to get vaccinated, where he will look at children dying of a measles outbreak in Texas right now and say that's just perfectly normal and that's cool. I think he's showing that how full of shit he fully is. I think that the same way that Kristen Sinema was going on and on about all these progressive values to get elected and then did a fucking heel turn and stood in the face of all the progress that we wanted to happen after Biden got elected, I think RFK Jr. is showing his true colors right now. And he just wants the fucking chaos. He just wants people to get hurt. He wants the people at the top to be more powerful and the people on the bottom to be desperate. The fucking, what was it? I just saw this article today. The FDA canceled their meeting where they discussed the updated flu shot. Do you think that that is a helpful thing for people who are immunocompromised or old people who need their fucking flu shot so that they don't fucking die? When the next bug comes around, this dude is going to make it harder for people to get vaccinated. He does not give a shit about the science. He does not give a shit about protecting people. Again, he's saying the right things to attract a certain crowd of people. And I get it, because I find some of those things very attractive as well. But yeah, 100% full of shit, a giant fucking liar, and an opportunist. Let's see here. Marcia, how is this going to end? The good news, Marcia, is that you are in control of that. If people like you and me do the work and make sure that people know what's actually going on and organize and make sure that Democrats fucking run the table in these special elections and midterms, and we make sure that we are talking to people that we know who work in powerful positions in the military and the FBI and in business, and let them know that this is what we want, that we're not going to fucking put up with it if we boycott and strike and protest and vote and be there for each other and do the fucking work, then this will all end better. Then we can turn this all fucking around. But if we don't, if we just wait for somebody else to come save us, then it's looking like, late 1930s Germany. Lady Local KC says, is there a projected impact on tomorrow's economic strike? That I have not seen. And for those of you that don't know, there is supposed to be an economic blackout tomorrow, so don't buy anything tomorrow. That is, hopefully we can get some big numbers on that. I have a show tomorrow where I'm going to be selling merch, but I will respect if people, decide to abstain for buying my stickers or whatever tomorrow. My boss is not going to like that. Let's see here. Brian says Kamala will save you, and then a whole bunch of laughing face emojis. I think you're just trolling, my man. Tommy, Colorado Springs says, what are your thoughts on Kash Patel? He seems decent unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, Tommy, Colorado, I feel like you are, unfortunately, and I really appreciate you being here and being, and being civil, because a lot of people who have read the things that you have read are just on here calling me a cuck. But yeah, Kash Patel is an unqualified psychopath who does not care about the rule of law. He is only going to do what Donald Trump tells him to do. It is a nightmare fucking scenario where the FBI is not going to be going after fucking, potential terrorist threats or drug dealers or fucking, sex trafficking rings. They're only going to be going after reporters that write stories that Donald Trump and Elon Musk don't like. They're going to be going after Democratic politicians. They're going to be going after, like liberal, what do you call it? People, liberal talking heads, people that go on the morning shows, people that worked for Jack Smith, former FBI agents who helped with the Mar-a-Lago raid, shit like that. So yeah, full nightmare scenario, my man. But thank you for being here. I really appreciate that. Let's see here. Alrighty. Okay. Emily Thompson, we are doing an economic blackout each month. Shop only small businesses for those days. Oh, well, we're small businesses, me and my boss. So you can still buy our shit. That's good. M. Fox says, I've come to believe that he really does want to break everything. It's coming together. Yeah, but again, we are the ones who can stop him. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. We have to do the work. And I know that sucks. I would much rather just live my fucking life also. But if we really want to, to stop this fucking nightmare from accelerating and going even further, then we have to do the work. All right, scrolling down to the bottom. Thank you for whoever convinced me to restart this live because my numbers are back up and I'm very happy about that. Not gonna lie, you mad dumb says, do you think our democracy is one of the best in the world or are we behind? We are significantly behind other democracies. The influence of money, the way that our electoral system is balanced to favor Republican politicians with gerrymandering and the Senate map and the Electoral College, the way that we have allowed our judiciary to get completely taken over by the far right of this country. Yeah, we're not doing great democracy-wise. Let's see here. Let's see here. Right, I'm loving the conversation that is happening over on YouTube. Keep it up, everybody. Let's see here. Zach Ahmed. I don't know what your vibe is, man. You keep on saying weird things in my chat here. Nat Tropical Flower says, will we have real elections ever again? Truly worried. That is a thing to worry about, Nat Tropical Flower. That is true. But here's the thing. We have to operate as though we are expecting the elections to be free and fair going forward. We should be on the phones constantly and bothering our elected officials and our secretaries of state to make sure that our elections are going to be free and fair going forward, especially in battleground areas like House districts that are up for grabs, Senate seats that are up for grabs and shit like that, swing states if it gets to that point where we're staring down the barrel of another presidential election and it's Trump versus somebody else. But if they try to do anything to stop that, then we need to react as though that is a fucking nuclear bomb, and we need to fucking flood the streets and make our voices heard to let them know that we do not take this shit lightly, that our right to vote in free and fair elections is fucking sacred, and we will not stand for it being fucked around with. What I think is a little bit more likely is that they do sneaky shit, where they pass the SAVE Act, which is essentially going to be a giant voter suppression bill. It's going to try to keep women from voting. It's going to try to keep people in blue states from voting. It's going to try to keep people that generally vote Democratic from voting. So we'll have to do that extra work then of, helping people to get the necessary voter IDs and helping women who are married who change their name to make sure that they do whatever legwork they need to do to make sure that all their documents are in order and shit like that. But yeah, I want us to win this election by such a large margin. And I can never say large margin without thinking about Large Marge from Pee Wee Herman's, adventure, whatever the name of that movie was. Yeah, but we have to win that election by such large margins that whatever fuckery they have tried has completely failed. Let's see here. All right, scrolling down to the bottom. The left is victorious. Pan holding fool. You don't know. I don't know what words you're saying. It feels like what you're saying. It feels like you're trying to say that I'm a panhandling fool and that the left is vicious. But I don't think that your English is great. Maybe they did not teach you correctly in Moscow. The right words to say. Patrick Schulz, what are your thoughts on the special elections that are coming up? It's unlikely that Democrats will run the table. It's unlikely that we will win any of those seats. But crazy shit has happened in the past. Like the abortion referendums that were being passed in red states. It is possible that if people are activated and motivated and organized, that we can 100% win those seats, but it's going to take work, and people should not act like it's game over either way. We should not act like it's not worth the effort, and we should not act like, oh well, people are so activated and energized that obviously the Democrats are going to win those elections. We have to do the work. We have to do it. People will ask me sometimes to make these political predictions, like, how do you think the midterms are going to go? What do you think is going to happen with Eric Adams in New York? Like, I got a bunch of friends in New York City who I'm like, you should be yelling at Governor Hochul every single fucking day that what Eric Adams is doing is unacceptable. And they'll say, like, what do you think is going to happen in the election? And I'm like, act as though your effort is the thing that is going to change things for the better. Let's see. Be sure and tell him large margins sent you. Yeah, when Democrats win the midterms, we can say, be sure and tell them large margin sent you. Ronald McDonald said Democrats have virtually no chance to win Senate, especially if Kemp takes Georgia's seat. Again, anything is possible, my man. I think that we should be working in every state to win. And even if we don't win, we can still make progress by putting in the work and building up the infrastructure and fighting those. Tommy Colorado Springs says, were you surprised Trump won the election? I was surprised, honestly, but I practice what I preach, and I was not acting as though that election was in the bag. I thought it was, but I was not acting like it. I was doing my canvassing shifts. I was encouraging everybody to do the work. So, yeah. Let's see here. Let's get another question. Alrighty. Okay. All right. Angelica Hawkins says, just seen vid of TD pretended he didn't remember calling Zelensky a dictator. That's what he does. He says whatever he wants, and then if somebody tries to call him on, he says, I don't remember saying that. I never said that. Even if I did say it, it's fine that I said it, blah, blah, blah. And I don't understand why that is not more of a red flag for people. If somebody was trying to sell you a car was acting like that, you would walk out of that dealership immediately. Alice, I do think some Republicans don't agree with Trump. Hopefully we'll get backbones. Yeah, I mean, the people that are currently elected are either on board with him being a dictator and with destroying our government and country, or they are scared of of his fans because he has successfully radicalized a large portion of this country and told them that he supports them doing violence. This happened during his first term. Obviously, with January 6th, with the pipe bombs that were sent to a bunch of notable Democrats and news organizations, he was telling people, beat the shit out of reporters, I'll pay your bail, and shit like that. It is clear that he is inciting violence and encouraging his supporters to threaten people and do death threats and, when one of them acts on it, like that dude who attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer, they all make jokes like it's the funniest fucking thing on the planet. But, if a fucking Republican gets a splinter from a Democrats' protest board, then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, the Democrats are so violent. Oh my God, they're so terrible. Kareem Starr, so is Maxine Waters, but that doesn't count, right? What Maxine Waters said was not what Trump said. Maxine Waters was not encouraging violence. She was not. And Democratic politicians all the time will clarify that they do not condone any kind of violence. They do not want them to be violent. They say we need to beat the shit out of them at the ballot box. But they do not say what Trump said, which is beat the shit out of them, I'll pay your bail. They do not say, I like it when cops could beat the shit out of people. That was so much better than what's happening now. And they don't make jokes about people that suffer from political violence the way that Republicans like fucking Donald Trump Jr. was doing when Nancy Pelosi's husband got fucking attacked by somebody with a fucking hammer. No matter how big of an asshole you are, Democrats always come out and say we do not condone violence and we pray for a steady recovery for whoever on the right was just attacked violently. When Donald Trump's assassination attempt happened, there wasn't one fucking elected Democrat or notable Democratic commentator who was out there making jokes about it and saying great things. There are a bunch of lefties on the internet who are making jokes about it, but I'm not talking about the voters. I'm talking about the people fucking in charge. The same way that I'm not going to say that MAGA people are the ones who are perpetuating this violence. I'm saying it's fucking Donald Trump. Donald Trump is inciting the violence. Ronald McDonald says, Thumb thought he was using things as leverage. Then when he does what he says, they're shocked. Yeah, I completely agree with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 says, do you think Trump is the president the oligarchs want? Or do you believe they want JD or Musk. I think they're perfectly happy with him because he has the rabid fan base. That, Musk has it a little bit, but it's not the same as what Donald Trump has. And they're happy because he's an idiot who doesn't want to do the work. He just wants to go golfing at Mar-a-Lago and get his cut. So, he'll go out there and he'll do his press conferences, and then Doge and Elon Musk and all the fucking Stephen Millers of the MAGA world will get in there and actually do the work of ruining the fucking country and hurting everybody that they don't like. Italiana says, do you incorporate politics into your comedy, especially now that there's so much? I do, but it's not all of my sets. I like to give people a little bit of both. I don't want my entire set to feel like a civics lesson. Tommy Colorado Strings says, has there ever been a Republican president that you've liked? Republican presidents have been on a downward spiral. For as long as that I have been researching this stuff, there's when the parties shifted. So, we can talk about Lincoln being a good Republican president, but it's not really the same. We're really talking about from Nixon on. The problem is, I can say that I didn't like Nixon, but Nixon established the EPA. I can say I didn't like Reagan, but Reagan championed immigrants. I can say that I didn't like W. Bush, but he told people not to demonize Muslims after 9/11. But they just keep on getting worse and worse and worse as time goes on. Reagan was worse than Nixon. W. Bush was worse than Reagan. And, now Donald Trump is worse than, all of them fucking put together. So, yeah, if you want me to say, did they do some good things? I'm sure we could find some, if I can find a needle in that haystack. But, it's just different levels of bad and different levels of getting worse. Let's see here. Okay, Yes says, why do they have politicians wearing IDF uniform in American Parliament? That's not a thing, Yes. You're one of the most sus commenters I've ever seen on my live, because you called it American Parliament, which is not what it is. So you're clearly a fucking Russian or some fucking bot troll from some other country. And also, American politicians do not wear IDF uniforms. It has never fucking happened. Let's see here. Italiana74 says, do you think Hillary would have done well as president? I do think she would have been a good president. I am more of a Bernie Sanders type Democrat and an AOC type Democrat. I'm much more of a lefty than I am a centrist. But she would have been a great president. She's very smart. She's very capable. She 100% would have made decisions that I would have disagreed with. But, there is no universe in where I think the Donald Trump presidency ended up being better than a potential Hillary Clinton presidency would have been. Let's see here. Scrolling down to the bottom. Farah says, I'm European, so may not know much, but do many Americans like LBJ because of the Great Society program? No, I think people prefer the fact that he signed in the... I can never fucking remember the name of this thing. It was the Civil Rights Act, and then there was another one, the Equality Act or something, that basically changed the Democratic Party from being the party that was accepting of things like the KKK and racism to being the party of civil rights and equality. That's the reason why I think people lionize LBJ. But, I could be wrong about that. That is definitely not my, That is not my area of expertise. Yes, says, calling an Aussie a Russian. Wow. And yes, it did happen. Well, you're lying, my man. And so you're out of here. Yeah, I don't need that shit. I don't need to just yell at somebody. Alice says, why do Trump's followers think that the entire government is crooked, but Trump... I know exactly what you're asking here, Alice. So this is part of the smokescreen of Republican politicians, where they make it seem like every politician is the exact same, is exactly as shitty as everybody else. They're making it seem as though both political parties are the same, they both do the same garbage, there's corruption in the system, so it doesn't matter if Trump is corrupt, he's exactly as corrupt as everybody else, but he's corrupt for you at least. The way that he's corrupt is going to hurt the people that you don't like, instead of the way that the Democrats are corrupt, which is going to hurt the people like you. It's a lie, it's bullshit, But that is part of the Republican smokescreen. That's the reason why I go so hard against people who say that both parties are the same, or every politician is the same, is corrupt, and both parties are terrible, and we need third-party options, blah, blah, blah. It's like you're missing all of the accuracy, you're missing all of the nuance. If we're just looking at, outcomes, the Democratic Party is way better than the Republican Party. If we're looking at the platform, the Democratic Party is way better than the Republican Party. If we're looking at corruption, the Democratic Party is way better than the Republican Party, both in what the politicians have done as far as like being corrupt, but also in like their fucking platform. Like the Republican Party is a pro-corruption platform. Like look at Ted Cruz's case in front of the Supreme Court that he won, that basically said that if he wins elections, people can then bribe him afterwards, and he can call it paying himself back. There's another Supreme Court decision, which again, this is for the Republican Party because this is an extremely right-wing Supreme Court that has been captured by the Republican Party. They found that a bribe isn't a bribe if you give it to somebody after they do the nice thing for you. Then it's just a tip, the Trump administration has already started tinkering in the mechanisms of justice to make corruption more legal. And I have them in my notes because I don't have these memorized exactly. Let's see here. So Trump froze a law banning bribery of foreign officials. Just legalized corruption right now. The gold card, $5 million for American citizenship. Just legalized corruption right there. Let's see here. I know there's at least one more in here. Let's see here. I think, and since Trump has been in office, there's a independent agency that does a global corruption index. We are at the lowest that we have ever been since Trump got elected. Yeah, he disbanded the FBI team that is charged with fighting election interference. What do we think is going to be the outcome of all of these things? It's unfucking believable. All right, everybody, it is 3:00 where I am, so I am going to head out of here. I'm going to do my Jose Arujo says, remember, no tax on tips now. No, there's not going to be no tax on tips, Jose, because that's not in the bill. That is a lie that the Republican Party has spread over the internet. That the bill had no tax on tips and no tax on overtime, and that the Democrats voted against that, but that is not accurate. That is not in the bill. The bill is literally just cutting taxes for billionaires, cutting social services, and increasing taxes for everybody that makes less than $300,000 a year. All right, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for all the shares. I appreciate all the support you can give me. I appreciate the free support, liking, sharing. If you can afford to do the financial support, I appreciate that too. I got a Patreon, jarrettberenstein.com is where you can find it. I have a store, jarrettberenstein.com/store. You can also send gifts here on TikTok and on Twitch and maybe on YouTube, but I'm not really sure. If you want to see me do my live stream in the future, my regular schedule is 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Tuesday through Friday. But I'm on the road right now, so it's a little bit more sporadic and erratic. So you're just going to have to keep your eyes peeled. If there was a question that you did not get answered that you really wanted to, my DMs are open. And also you can email me through my website, jarrettberenstein.com. And yes, please, just everybody do the work, join me. Let's all do the work together. Let's all convince people to get out there and fucking vote, to protest, to boycott, to fucking strike, to flood, your senators, your Republican senators and your Republican House members with phone calls and fucking live at their offices. If you know somebody who is in that world, whether you know somebody who's friends with one of those politicians, or somebody who works in the military or the FBI, make sure you're talking to those people and make sure that they're there to do the good work as opposed to just be a fucking shill for the Republican Party. We have to be the ones to do this work because nobody else can save us. Rich people and the Republican Party don't want to save us. The Department of Justice doesn't want to save us because they're currently being run by a bunch of fucking right-wing lackeys and Trump sycophants. And the Democratic Party doesn't have the resources to save us. And they don't have enough political power to save us. So we are the ones who have to do it. All right. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can join groups like Indivisible. You can join one of the 5051 protests. You can, you can organize with Run for Something or Vote Save America. Or, you can form your own political action group. All you got to do is find 5 people that live in your neighborhood and you all have the same representatives. Now you guys are a political action group and you can call their offices and you can fucking fax them and you can live at their offices and find out where they're going to be and fucking protest and let them know, do not let them ignore you. That you are not going to fucking put up with this shit, because we gotta make sure that we mitigate the damage of what goes on going forward, and we gotta win the midterms and the special elections, because that is, the thing is, here's the thing. People always say, like, why is every election the most important election of my lifetime? Because the Republican Party has gotten so radicalized that they have made every single election life or death. And so, I'm tired of saying it, but I'm also tired of it being a reality. Let's vote the Republican Party out of fucking existence so we can have regular fucking elections again, where people like me don't have to go on the fucking internet and say, this is the most important election of our lifetimes, everybody. Because it is, guys. Because it fucking is, All right, everybody. Thanks again for being here. Let's see here. Oh, I got one last question that I want to answer. So let's see here. Rob Dobbs says, I love the mantra, if we all do a little, no one has to do it all. Find a way to contribute. Marty D's CBG says, voting won't work. That is a lie, Marty's, and I'm not going to get into that right now. But that is complete and utter bullshit, and I hope that you do not spread that message around. If anybody tells you that voting doesn't matter, they are sus as hell. Do not listen to them. If anybody tells you that the parties are exactly the same, they are sus as hell. Do not listen to them. If anybody tells you that, nothing ever changes through voting or through government, they're full of shit. Do not listen to them. Sus as hell. All right. So what was that question I was going to answer? Earhall says, what is your opinion on how Trump won? So I think Trump won because of 2 things. The first one is incumbency bias. Everybody's upset about the post-COVID economy. Prices went up. I've seen a lot of substantive data to suggest that is the fault of the Republican Party and Donald Trump specifically, but I digress. So political parties everywhere, in every country, felt electoral consequences just by virtue of being the ones in power when prices were going up. So whether they were left, right, or center, everybody suffered electoral consequences in 2024. But the bigger one, and this is the main one, this is the one that I think we have to worry about going forward, is misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda. If somebody reads the news, the chances that they were going to vote for Democratic politicians over Republican politicians was a factor of 80 to 20. But Democrats did not win the election by 80 to 20. They lost it by, a fraction of a percent. So where did all those people get their news? Social media. And so that is where we need to fight. We need to fight the people who are hearing right-wing propaganda that tells them that Republicans are better than Democrats, or that Democrats are just bad. But we also need to fight the don't vote propaganda that this fucking, Marty D's CBG is fucking spreading, that voting doesn't do anything, or the parties are the same, or whatever. There are 8 million people who decided to vote in 2020 who did not vote in 2024. If those 8 million people had voted, we would be looking at a vastly different country right now. So those people bought it. They fell for the con that not voting is better than voting, and now we are here. So now we have to fight all of those narratives. We have to fight the narratives that the parties are the same. We have to fight the narrative that the Republican Party is better than the Democratic Party. We have to fight the narrative that there was no tax on tips in the tax bill and that Democrats voted against that because they're the party of the elites. We have to fight against the notion that the billionaires like Democrats more than they like Republicans, which is blatantly fucking untrue. The Trump administration has more billionaires in it than any administration in history, and the platform of the Republican Party is to cut taxes for billionaires. So, fucking 1 + 1 = 2, Yeah, we got to fight all these narratives. That is the only way that we can get through this. Social media is too easy to manipulate when you have a lot of money and power, which the billionaire class and the Republican Party and fucking Vladimir Putin does. So we have to do the work. We have to do it. And it has to be offline, guys, So you got to make your phone calls. You got to fucking talk to people in person in real life. That is the only way that we can solve this problem. All right, everybody. I will see you next time. Keep your eyes peeled for the next time I'm streaming. I'm on the road for another week and a half. And then I'll be back to my regular schedule. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Goodbye.